Okay, I've got another day of working on the E36. It's Thursday, my day off, and I'm gonna spend the whole day working on the E36. I got a pretty big day planned. I gotta go get a haircut first, but then after that, I got a tire appointment for the 2 rear tires on the E36. Not too bad on the outside, but the inside's getting pretty flat, pretty worn. We're hitting that tread bar, so I feel like I could get away with it a little bit more. But eventually I'm gonna have to replace them, and I wanna have maximum grip the next time that I'm at the track. So I'm just gonna replace them now a little bit early, save them on to maybe I'll burn them off later if I ever get a drift set of wheels. But the other thing on my to-do list was the transmission mount. So in the last video, I replaced them with the solid aluminum transmission mounts. I have had a god-awful vibration driving home. Like, I didn't like driving it like over 4,000. It was pretty sketchy. So I'm a little worried going to the track with that amount of vibration. Now, I know the solid mounts are supposed to add vibration, but it just seems like excess. And I was reading on the forums, I didn't do the solid engine mounts. I have like a stiff rubber mount in there. And somebody was saying maybe that's creating more vibrations than normal if it was all locked down. I couldn't find aluminum mounts short notice. I found some polyurethane mounts, so I'm going to install polyurethanes onto it. Hopefully that vibration goes away. And yeah, I just didn't want to risk it with like the aluminum cross member and the vibrations and stuff breaking. It's like, it wasn't really worth that added stiffness. So we're just going to grab some poly mounts, and that will probably give a nice improvement over what I was feeling last time without risking the vibrations with the solid. And then something I was planning on doing at the end of the year is the oil leak. So I have an oil pan gasket because look at this. Car's been parked here for about a week and the oil is literally running to the drain. I have personally never seen a car leak oil this bad. When I do check the dipstick, it's not that bad. Like, it's still on the dipstick tube. It's not like running dry. Car takes 7 liters, so I'm not worried about driving it, but it's enough of probably like, you know, 400, 500 milliliters that it's oil, so it doesn't really dry out and it's just slowly leaking. So as it looks pretty bad, but it being oil, it's not as bad, I think, my opinion. But when I first started the car up for the season, I noticed that it was leaking a little bit more oil than normal, but I figured, yeah, I'll get through the season. In the winter time, I'll take it apart, I'll replace all the seals. It's getting so bad, I don't really like parking and having the car leak out. I put cardboard underneath the car, it's soaked through the cardboard, and now it's still coming out. So I got an oil pan gasket, I got cherry picker at the shop. I'm gonna do what I need to do to get the oil pan gasket done. Hopefully that solves it. If not, while I'm underneath there, I can see some other stuff and try and figure it out. Also a valve cover gasket, oil filter housing gasket. I don't think I'll get around to that stuff, just because I think it's mainly the oil pan gasket. And then I also got a power steering pump rebuild kit. If you watched the last video, you know I lost power steering. And then I got a new power steering line. So we'll see how much I get accomplished today. The main things on my task are switching out the transmission mount and getting the oil pan gasket done. Let's go get a haircut. Okay, so give you an update on my day. Got that fresh haircut. We got 2 tires put on the vehicle, stopped off getting a tire, got some oil, stopped off at Princess Auto, stopped off at 1110 Small, got the transmission mounts, and now I'm here at a self-car wash. I jacked the car up, sprayed engine degreaser all on the bottom of the car, a little bit through the top. I'm going to wash the car, and then we can finally head to the shop. It's like, what time is it? It's 1 o'clock and I haven't even made it to the farm yet, so this is going to be a long night because I've got like 6 hours of labor ahead of me or something like that. So we're going to wash it all up, hopefully get a clear image, and yeah, then we'll head to the shop. All right, cars are all washed up. Let's head to the farm. Okay, now I wanted to get underneath here and try and see exactly where the oil is leaking. Since I've been here, this is how much oil I have on the ground. I see power steering fluid and engine oil. So I got a power steering rebuild kit, got a new power steering line. I'm gonna take a look to see what could be the issue, to see where everything is leaking from before I just go ahead and do the oil pan gasket, because maybe there's something else as well. So I'm gonna take a look. Okay, so This is a great example of why Diagnosis is doing a great thing before you just start buying parts. So for the power steering, I bought a power steering rebuild kit and I bought a power steering line. The reason I bought the line is because when I did it, the car originally, there was one line that wasn't replaced. I did the AN power steering kit. I did this AN power steering kit right here, and the only line I didn't replace is this line from the power steering pump to the rack, that high pressure line. I figured that's probably like a part of what was leaking, and it doesn't seem to be the best. Like, it's kind of wet up there, so maybe that was leaking. So I bought that line. I'm gonna replace that anyway. But then what I noticed is most of the power steering fluid is right along this hose right here. I go look right here, and this thing is loose. So that explains my power steering leak is right here. Looking at the pump, like, it doesn't really look like it needs a rebuild kit. Like, it's not dripping. It's a little wet from some stuff getting on it, and that's really it. It's not just soaking. Okay, so I've just noticed something else as well. Looks like this cooler line had this welded on. You can kind of see the tab where it was, and now that's come off. And then if I look past it, I can get the camera up there so you can see right up in there, that's all chiseled out. It looks like this has been swinging up and hitting that area under vibrations, and that looks like it's sweating. You see the gold oil coming out. There's a drip right there. I bet you it's just enough that is my oil leak right there. So yeah, it looks like, from what I can see, power steering leak is just a loose connection. Just gotta tighten that up, which that's why you do a diagnosis first before you just buy parts. Replace that line while I'm underneath there anyway, since I already bought it. It'll give me peace of mind. And then it looks like that I'll bolt that piece off, that little connection for the cooling for the power steering. And it looks like that is what's causing my oil leak. It chiseled through the oil pan, so it's just dripping from there, and it's not the oil pan gasket. Maybe that broke at some point and this season from the track abuse, and then that's clipped up and eventually was carving away, and seems to be my issue. Okay, I just found out something even worse. Explains why the vibrations are so bad, and pretty much going to cancel my weekend unless I can find a fix for this ASAP. So I'm underneath here, I'm wiping everything down, trying to figure out where exactly this leak's coming from. So I just wiped this area down. You can see it's leaking oil. It's already dropping again. So that's definitely, oh, look like there's 2 scrape marks up there. So that's definitely my oil leak in the pan. And then wiping everything down over here. And then I look up and I'm like, yo, that's not bolted in. What the fuck? Then I come around to this side and I'm like, the other side's not bolted in. What the fuck? When I reach a hand up there, you look a little farther up. What the fuck is that? What is that? Engine mount is snapped, broken, dangling right there. So my engine mount is just resting against the side of the motor, and that's why it's vibrating so bad. So yeah, that's probably more of the issue than the solid transmission mounts. Solid transmission mounts probably aren't that bad. I'm learning a lot of things here, and this is why proper diagnosis before you just buy and replace parts is necessary when doing this stuff. Now I have to find a transmission mount or an engine mount. So that's probably why all the other shit is happening, because that happened first, and then that probably caused everything else. The surprising amount is like the vibrations that I got weren't that bad, but maybe that's why my shifter was moving around so much, was because that's not tight there. That's probably why I wrecked all the rest of my mounts too. So thankfully, I have a parts car in there. It's a 320 automatic transmission. I looked up on Real OEM, the part number is not the same for the oil pan. Hopefully the engine mount is the same for that. I don't know why it would be too different, but let's find out. I'm gonna get the loader, we're gonna lift it up. Good old parts car. Ripping my uncle side by side just to come down and get that engine support bar. Okay, it's like 7 o'clock. I just got back from the parts car. That took me like 3 hours or something. It was ridiculous. This didn't take me so long. Getting this out, I could do it right from the top. It was pretty easy. But I figured while I was under there, I need an oil pan now. So I took the oil pan off of that car. That took such a long time. One bolt snapped, a bunch of other bolts were seized. It was ridiculous. Especially when I didn't like just disconnect the steering rack and everything. I was time lapsing it, but then my GoPro died, my phone died. And I also picked up this crossbar that happened to be on it. So I'll just toss that on the car as well. Now, main thing I'm gonna do is get the cherry picker over, lift up the engine a bit, and replace that transmission, or replace that engine mount. I'm so exhausted, I just want to go home, but I gotta get this done so I can drive home. Okay, so I got the broken engine bracket out, and the top two snapped off. This one was still in there. The third piece was gone. I'm just gonna imagine that eventually the bolts backed out. This was the only one left, just snapped apart after the bottom bolts came out, and the only pressure was at the top, and those probably just snapped. Well, I'm just surprised. I never recognized it. This kind of pinched in and was pushing the engine to the right side, and I just can't believe I didn't see this sooner. Now it's time to put this one in. I'm in a rush. I don't really care about painting it right now. It doesn't need to look good, it just needs to work. So yeah, I'm just gonna clean up the mounting points a bit and then we'll put it in. I checked the passenger side mount, it's pretty tight. Definitely gonna be using some red Loctite this time. Okay, so I put the engine mount in, that's fine. I'm just working on power steering stuff now. But I was thinking, like, this car started as two cars. Went upstairs, when we're home, I had another engine mount. I'm so frustrated now because I spent 3 or 4 hours digging in the parts car, getting that bracket. I could just use this one, and now that I'm thinking of it, I might just get somebody to weld the crack in my oil pan instead of using the other oil pan because I have a baffle welded in. So, it literally could have been like boom, boom, boom. I could have been home by now. So that's a little frustrating, but we're gonna plug away and we're just gonna keep going. Okay, so the aluminum solid ones are out, and we're gonna put these Street Track polyurethane from Rev Shift in, and they will match my Rev Shift control arms. And I think I will order up a set of engine mounts for when I do the oil pan gasket on another date. Okay, it's 10 o'clock. I'm finally done. I am absolutely disgusting. I feel like I did so much, and I didn't even use pretty much any of the parts that I bought. The only thing that I used was those Rev Shift transmission mounts, get rid of those solid aluminum, top of the engine back up. So I'm gonna go through the CSCS event. It's not terrible. like it's manageable. So I'm gonna get through this event because I've already paid for it, so there's no backing out for the second time. And then after that, I'll have a month to fix the oil pan. I might use the oil pan that I took off, or I might get somebody to weld up this oil pan because I did put a baffle in it. So either I gotta move the baffle over the other pan, or I can just get them to weld up where it's nicked and leaking from on this one. We'll see how that goes. But overall, I'm exhausted. I can't wait to go home, just topping the car up with some coolant. I'm pretty sure I fixed the power steering leak. And with the engine mount bracket fixed, there should be like no more vibrations on the car, especially with the aluminum engine mounts out. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. What a hectic day for me. Hope you guys appreciate the E36 update. I'll see you guys at CSCS on Sunday. Peace out.
Don't forget, my Shop Denver BMW merch is now live on the website. If you guys want to support me, every dollar goes back into the builds. Thank you guys so much.